All right, I'm talking to co-executive producer of Lucha Underground, former member of WWE creative team. I'm talking to Chris DJ DeJoseph. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So yeah, Boyle Heights, Dario Cueto's hangout there. Was the idea always to get that, dingy fight club aesthetic going on, the Underground Combat Club?
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the idea. I think from the beginning there was a few different ideas on what it should be, but my boss Eric Van Wagenen, he kind of had this idea. He had done the Contender before, which is like a boxing reality show, and they had shot in these warehouses in like the Boyle Heights area, and he was real familiar with a few of them. So we found this great spot, and that became the temple.
Yeah, it's cool. It reminds me of that old, NWA studio audience kind of feel from back in the day.
Oh
Did
yeah,
a bit of that play
totally.
into it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always wanted to kind of have a small audience there. In the very beginning, I don't think we knew that people would come right away. So that's another thing. It's a neat environment. I always say like when you walk on the set of Lucha Underground, it's a lot like going on a Disneyland ride or something like that. Like you're there and you see the office and the gym and it's really kind of crazy. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's that comic book kind of larger than life imagery as well. So that sort of reminds me
Sure.
of the 80s, rock and wrestling connection thing in a way. Is that your effort to try and bring that feel of the old school back to the new generation fans just with a fresh sheen on it?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, for me, that's probably the highlight of wrestling for me as a child was kind of those fun characters and so I took I we take from a lot of different influences, whether it be movies, you know, nerdy stuff, whatever, and kind of tie it together and kind of fit it in this kind of you know Robert Rodriguez world on the El Rey network.
And yeah, Robert Rodriguez, executive producer of that. I kind of get the
Yeah.
sense that you were a fan of some of his prior work. Is that correct? Like from Dusk Till Dawn, Machete, certain
Oh,
things like that?
oh, for sure. I mean, I don't know how you can't be. He's has pretty cool, iconic stuff, and he's a great influence and a great mentor to have. Um, you know, to kind of like take something I don't know. We try to model lucha to kind of fit in like what would Robert do, and then when he sees it, sometimes we get really cool responses like, "Dude, that's so awesome," or I really love that. So that's good, and I think it motivates everybody to know that he's so behind what we're doing, and is a big fan of it as well.
And yeah, I mean, like you were doing some reality shows before you got
Yeah.
involved with Lucha, things like Big Brother, Redneck Island. Did you feel like that work helped with, creating the suspension of disbelief that sort of exists when you're watching Lucha Underground? Because I don't know, I get lost
Uh,
in it when I'm watching it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if necessarily, working on reality shows added to any sense of disbelief,
Fair
as
enough, eh?
sometimes not real as they are. But obviously, working on shows like that and big network show like Big Brother, like you really get your feet wet as far as producing, television at a high level. And I think, it was a great learning experience. Obviously, WWE for sure. I mean, that's where I really learned. The television business, directly pretty much from Vince McMahon himself. And, they gave me a good solid foundation. And then I was able to kind of come out to LA and work on some other projects. And then Lucha Underground just kind of fell in my lap in a way. And, I had told myself after WWE, I don't think I'm ever going to do anything with professional wrestling again. And you should never say never, because when that kind of came around, I was like, this is really cool. This is something that I can be happy to be a part of, and that you know they let me and my team be creative. They let us do things that without micromanaging every single detail.
Yeah, I imagine that was a big thing in WWE, but I heard you talking about Lucha Underground, and it sort of rekindled your love for wrestling, correct? I was kind of hearing that in
Yeah,
some interviews.
yeah, that's true. Without a doubt. Like I think after 7 years on the road or 6 years on the road at WWE, I was kind of burnt out on the business. Especially when you're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and traveling, and like, I just reached a point in my life where I was like, man, this is too much, and I just didn't love it anymore. And then, taking some time off doing those shows like Big Brother, Redneck Islands, all the crazy reality stuff in between. Kind of gave me a good break. And then I never lost like my love of wrestling. Like, with like my other writers on Lucha, like this guy Chris Roach and Matt Stolman, like we still always talk about wrestling. We always would talk about ideas, and then eventually, the Lucha thing just kind of came around. It was like almost like the universe kind of found us.
No, but it's cool because everyone I've shown the product to, usually it's, Attitude Era fans who are like, I don't follow the modern product as much anymore, but they see Lucha Underground and it becomes an engrossing thing they genuinely want to go to their way to see. So are you getting a lot of these stories as well, people coming to you and talking about that?
Oh yeah, I mean for sure. I've had people come, who've been like, I haven't watched wrestling in 15 years, and I saw Lucha Underground, and it's awesome. I really love it. It's so different. Or hear people who say, I stopped watching the WWE, but man, I saw this, and this is pretty cool. Or I've even had people who said, I never watched wrestling before in my life, and I saw this show, and I got hooked. So that's a good thing, and hopefully, the word keeps spreading, especially with on Wednesday what's about to happen. So
yeah, and I mean, do you want to talk about that? The big news relating to Netflix. I mean, people really talking about that. I think that's super cool. So do you want to maybe give us an idea of the timeline relating to that?
Yeah, I mean for sure. I mean, this is something that I've been waiting for a very long time for, and I know a lot of fans of the show have been waiting for. And the cool thing is, I think a lot of the fans who already know of the show have wanted it to go on Netflix, because I think that they are hopeful that the product will reach a lot more people, and a lot more people will have the opportunity to see it and kind of see what they love, and hopefully fall in love with it as well. So I think it's a huge opportunity for us. It definitely gives us, if it catches on, it could be a game changer for us, and hopefully people find it and watch it. It's definitely. I will say this: I think for people who haven't seen it and have been watching, Raw or Impact and stuff like that, I think once they see Lucha, they'll maybe never look at those things the same way again.
No, I think that's a fair statement, man. And I just think it's very cool because, I mean, no disrespect to El Rey Network or anything like that, but I feel like one of the big issues with trying to get people to watch this show was, what's El Rey Network? How can I find a time to watch it? What channel is it on? Certain things like that. There was a lot of wrestling fans I had who were genuinely super enthusiastic about it being on Netflix who've never seen it, because I keep probably badgering them about it. Oh, you got to check out Lucha. You got to check out Lucha. They're like, all right, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, my family will be able to watch it. People that I know, like a lot of my family lives on the East Coast of the United States, and they don't have the El Rey Network where they live, and so they've never really got to see it. So I'm excited for like my nephews to watch it. They've watched like DVD when they come to visit, but now they can watch the whole thing, and I'm pretty excited for that. And I think it's going to be hopefully good for everybody. Not just I think this will help, especially in North America. With kind of getting it out there, and I know Canada and even in Mexico, it can be huge, just because, gosh, they're super wrestling fans there in both places.
Yeah, and I noticed the Lucha and Chill T-shirts. I thought it was a pretty savvy merchandising move there on your guys' part.
Yeah, I don't know who designed that one, but yes, that's pretty cool that they did that.
But I mean, you guys for a while were just focusing on TV at one point, solely thinking you're going to exist within that realm. So why recently change to incorporate the live aspect?
You mean like the live events?
Yeah. I mean, they seem to be selling well live since you guys have sort of started doing them. I mean, there was a Houston sellout a little while ago. So when was there the change to go towards live shows?
I think that was always the idea from the beginning, was to kind of work our way into maybe doing live events and testing the waters. First and foremost, we wanted to put a solid product on TV, and hopefully word of mouth and it starts to spread, and more people find out about it, that we could do live events. But it was pretty amazing to me, going to like Houston and Phoenix and kind of those southwestern towns that we did, and seeing that people came out to the show, like in Houston, Texas, and they all had Lucha Underground shirts on, and I was like, this is bigger than I thought it was. I mean, sometimes we're kind of in our bubble in LA, and we knew, it's kind of a cool thing in LA, like, or in California too. It's like kind of a hip thing right now. But then when you go to Texas or you go to Austin and South by Southwest, and there's a line going down the street, it's like, wow, this might have a chance to catch on. So that was definitely promising.
Well, that's good to hear. And yeah, there's a certain cult of personality that surrounds Lucha Underground. The people who really love it, and then the people who don't like it, like the Jim Cornette, Brian Alvarez types. They're
I was
not
going to say the people who really hate it.
No, but that's kind of cool.
But
and
it's a good thing, man. It's a good thing to have haters.
Yeah, but I noticed that you were kind of having a Twitter exchange with Brian Alvarez. What was going on there? Was it in relation to the use of intergender matches in Lucha Underground? I mean, not to stir up beef, but I'm just kind of speaking to the detractor aspect.
Yeah, I just mess with him a little bit because I know he busts our chops about it all the time. So I'm just playing. I like Brian. He's been cool to me, and like, hey, to each their own. But I was just playing with him, really. I like to give him and Meltzer a hard time sometimes if I can, just to, say they don't know everything.
So you kind of see just the intergender matches as more so like a superhero dichotomy, like Scarlett Johansson beating people up in the Avengers type deal.
I don't, I mean, you go and watch. You watch Rogue One, or you go watch, the Avengers, and nobody complains if a woman is fighting a guy. But all of a sudden, if it's in wrestling, it just, you
can't hit him with a steel chair.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's the worst thing ever. How could you do that? It's like, all right, let's not fool ourselves. We all know that it's a storyline and it's not a real thing. I think at this point in 2017, people are well aware of what they're watching, and they want to get lost, and they want to have fun, and they want to lose, have suspension of disbelief, and I think it's cool. Like we aim to make strong characters for all genders, races. Like in the end, regardless, our goal is to create strong, awesome, kick-ass characters. Really.
And I mean, certainly people taking notice of that. I mean, didn't WWE try to get a good amount of your talent before season 2 got rolling? And there's some controversy nowadays with reports of WWE trying to lure some women from Black Lotus Triad.
Oh yeah, I think that they're always trying to. They have the kind of system set up where I think they can just sign anybody they want to, and just keep them. They can just collect talent and keep them away from everywhere else. It's just. That's the advantage that they have, and they kind of dangle the carrot in front of everybody and be like, "Oh, you could be this, but sign up for your $750 a month or a week or whatever it is, and stay on the farm." I think they did something in England where they bought up a bunch of talent to stop a show from airing in England. I'd heard something about that, but you know what? That they're the big dogs, and I support talent going everywhere, and definitely. Sometimes staying in a place too long it can be a bad thing as well. So I'm fine. I completely understand. Everybody's always looking to get the next star or find somebody else. It's not to say that there's people on WWE's roster that I wouldn't be like, gosh, I'd really love to have them, because I'd lie if I didn't say that. But I'm not necessarily calling them, being like, hey, you should come here. But it is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. I just noticed a recent story about Joey Ryan talking about his deal, a multiple season sort of arrangement. I don't know if you can necessarily talk to that side of it, but is that generally the idea of securing these certain talents for multiple seasons so you can tell these, lengthy sort of stories?
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is a television show first and foremost. And, if you were to sign up for Game of Thrones, I would think that the actors who did that had a deal for a certain amount of seasons. And, I think that's kind of the way we have approached Lucha Underground, and it's just not a standard. It's not the way that things used to always be done. It's a different way, and it's a television show, and that's the way we do things.
Yeah, and I was wondering about the mid-season break. I thought that was kind of an intriguing thing you guys did as well. And also, well, why did you do that? But also, when is Lucha planning to come back and kind of finish off the third season there? I want to check it out.
Lucha's coming back on May 31st. The El Rey Network made the decision to have the mid-season break. We didn't write the initial season to have a break, but that was their decision, and I think that they're rolling out some new programming too. So I think the idea is just kind of like package it all together and Lucha's the most popular show on the El Rey Network, so I think that they're hoping that, the Lucha fans will stick around and watch some of the other shows they have, and the stuff that I've seen so far that they're going to put out is pretty awesome too. So I think our fans will definitely be interested in and the stuff that the network is doing right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of positive coverage extending even beyond just, the bubble of wrestling fans. There's a lot of outlets talking about it like Vice and whatnot, a lot of positive coverage. And I noticed there was a Forbes report saying Turner Broadcasting was going to be broadcasting Lucha Underground in Germany. So, I mean, it's getting international here. I mean, Rey Mysterio on Samurai TV in Japan talking up Lucha Underground. Is that the plan going forward now, just making it as international an effort as possible?
Yeah, I know that they are working very hard. The people at MGM and they're working very hard to get the show in different international markets. I know that we're in Asia, we're in Germany, France, I think. But I know it's pretty hot in Germany right now. Like the people are going crazy for it. So that's a good sign, I think. And hopefully it continues to expand and reach the entire globe.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, there's a huge international talent pool you guys have. I mean, a lot of it is, that high caliber lucha libre talent from AAA and other promotions. A lot of guys.
I lost you for a second.
Oh, yeah, sorry. A lot of American indie workers, a lot of high caliber lucha libre workers. So there's a diverse kind of international aspect to the whole thing. Is there anyone currently on the American indies or in Mexico right now that maybe you would want to bring into Lucha Underground? Does any jump? You kind of smiling there. I feel like one's jumping to mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to get scooped.
There you go. Fair enough. But no, is that basically a requirement? I mean, maybe it's not you doing it necessarily, but is it just having people on board that are keeping up with the international scene and knowing all the hot, buzzed about workers outside the lucha sphere?
Oh, for sure. I mean, first of all, we've got the talent on the roster that are always, being like, hey, check this guy out or check this guy out. I mean, Shane Strickland, Killshot, that was Ricochet, Prince Puma. He was like, dude, you got to check this dude out. He's legit. And so we were like, all right, cool. We trust you, man. Let's take a look. And then he came in and we were like, oh, all right, here we go. And, it's kind of a big team effort. You see somebody here and there, you definitely kind of let everybody know about it. For me personally and my team, and I know Vampiro and Paul London and Chavo, we always kind of have our ear to the street, and we're always kind of keeping an eye out there in all places for talent all the time. And now, especially since Lucha Underground has become so popular, I remember when we were first casting the show, we couldn't get anybody to agree to be on it. And now it's people have come out of the woodwork left and right. I mean, I get emails at least every week from people who've been like, hey, I'm interested. So that's a good sign too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with your time in WWE, a lot of the talent had input. There's kind of like a back and forth with you and the talent. I was wondering if a similar relationship existed within Lucha Underground where you guys kind of talk about certain promos and ideas to their character where the talent and behind the scenes people collaborate and forward things. Is that sort of the process in Lucha Underground?
Yeah, I mean, that was my main point when we first started, that we had a big meeting and with all the talent. And I have always been a believer, from the things that I've been most successful with in WWE was something where there was some synergy between the writing and the producing and the talent and their ideas. And when you can find a happy medium and they believe in what they're doing and you believe in what they're doing, I think it equals the best performance possible, especially when there's a lot of free ideas. Sometimes with WWE, things are like, you're doing it this way, you're saying this, that's it, don't do anything. And that kind of thing doesn't exist at Lucha. We kind of are open to suggestions, changes. I mean, granted, sometimes it's like, okay, this is still the idea, but obviously we're open to all sorts of ideas. I mean, some of the ideas and especially in some of the wrestling that's coming up for the second half of season 3, it's insane. My boss Eric would look at me and be like, "We're really going to do that? Holy shit!" And yeah. So, it's a good environment. It's a fun environment, and I think the cool thing is we all kind of push each other because we all kind of built this together. So I think everybody has a stake in it being successful, and everybody really has some passion behind it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and with certain character development, I mean, you can really see what you're talking about there. I mean, like a character like Johnny Mundo, for instance, there's a lot of different permutations to his character. I mean, when he came in, he started as like, I guess like a, prototypical pretty boy heel sort of thing. Now he's got like that like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure playing air guitar kind of a side to him there. So it's cool.
Yeah, you always, I think your characters always need to adapt and change and develop over time. So they can't just be the same all the time. Otherwise, it just kind of becomes stale. And I mean, it's just like it's really fun to work with those guys. I mean, John and I have been friends for. I mean, my first day, I think I met him like my first day on the road at WWE. Eminem, I think it was like their first day on the road officially, and we got. I don't know if it was a rib or something that happened, but we all got booked. We were in Virginia, Roanoke, Virginia. We showed up at the hotel, and we all, for some reason, got booked in the presidential suite together. And I was like, and Vince was there in the lobby. I'm like, Vince, I got the presidential suite. This is probably yours, And he's like, oh no, you're gonna stay there. And I was like, what? Like, I don't want to. I'm just a assistant. And of course, they made me stay up there, and then Eminem, they also were staying in there, and I was like, hey, why don't you guys like stay here? And they're like, oh, we don't want to get any heat, and so they left. So I had to stay. I stayed in the presidential suite myself, my first day on the road.
Do you guys still bring that up, like talking about the presidential suite heat? You do that with Johnny Mundo every now and again.
Oh yeah, we still talk about that all the time, and we, we had a lot of fun working together. We did the dirt sheets, all that stuff together. I don't know if you're familiar with the dirt sheet, and those were kind of I think the foundations of mine and John's relationship as kind of creative. Like, we didn't have anybody telling us what we could and couldn't do, so we just did whatever we wanted, and I think that's when those things were successful and fun because. And got popular because it was like we just let them be them instead of trying to make them be somebody else.
So are you nowadays going to more, fiction-heavy sort of things? Like, do you feel being in Lucha Underground gives you the option to explore storylines that are maybe more cinematic and, I guess ethereal than what WWE would typically allow?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the world we've created in Lucha Underground, pretty much now anything can happen. We've had people die. We have spacemen. We have dragons. We have, gods coming back to Earth to fight for civilization. It's total insanity. We've got military storylines. We've got cops. It's kind of a blend of like every, like parts of all of our favorite movies and TV shows that we just kind of blended into one thing and kind of created this wild world. And I think pretty much anything is possible now.
Yeah, you've created a supernatural sort of environment with Lucha Underground. Now, I know you would never take credit for something like this. I'm not necessarily asking you to, but do you think that Bray Wyatt, the Wyatt family, certain characters like the Broken Hardys, do you feel like Lucha Underground, with their sort of out-of-the-box approach, maybe laid the groundwork or maybe made it easier for those sort of characters to pop off?
Yeah, I definitely think that is the case. Not to say that WWE hasn't been doing supernatural stuff for a long time with Undertaker and stuff like that. I mean, and some cinematic type stuff. But I think that we took it to another level and kind of, showed that you can you don't have to. Everybody just doesn't have to play by the playbook that the WWE has made. And this is how you have to do wrestling. And everybody has to have a Titantron, and everybody has to interrupt with. It's just like the formula. We broke it, and I think that helped make things more acceptable. And I think it also gives people ideas. When you watch different shows, and I know talent. I talk to guys at WWE who are like, they love Lucha Underground. They watch it all the time, and I think that makes everybody better. I think that talent all over the world watches each other. That's how you get better. I watch it. I try to watch as much as I can if I have the time. But I'm always trying to check out stuff. Like I know there's been people from Lucha that have criticized a little bit, but I loved Broken Hardys. I think that was freaking awesome. And I think more things like that, and if it's good for the talent and it's good for the shows, then I'm all for it. I want wrestling to be awesome all the time.
Yeah, and you guys even switched it up from a presentation standpoint. I mean, I went to school and dealt with certain television production, so I mean, I was kind of geeking out over things like that. I mean, you got like the overhead visual of the ring and stuff like that, and just the way you guys handle the backstage elements. That's something I kind of wanted to touch on because I find that interesting in the sense that it almost functions like a soliloquy in a way. Like the people who are out there and wrestling, the announcers and things like that, they're not privy to what's going on in the back. And the typical thing in WWE is, what a startling thing that happened in the back. So-and-so got jumped. But you don't have that with Lucha Underground. I found that aspect very cool.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing that sometimes bothered me about the WWE is like, well, sometimes sometimes I could see like, oh, they're watching an interview, but then like they know that, you know, there's cameras that showed up on Bray Wyatt's compound and see a ghost rocking in a chair. And it's like, to me, that's like, it's kind of confusing. So you know, we wanted to do a thing where like, and I think it helped tell the story a little different, that the announcers and even the audience, which is true, the audience that's there, they have no idea about what's connecting the dots. So, you know, they're just reacting to what's happening with the matches coming out all the time, and they're trying to put the pieces together at the same time. So it's even a new show for them, even though they've seen the matches. When they sit down and watch it, it's like, oh wow, this is why this happened, blah blah blah, and kind of connect the dots. And yeah, we kind of thought that was fun. It was like, there's really no reason that Dario should be talking to his brother in a jail cell, and then Matt and Vamp should be like, oh wow, hey, there's Dario backstage with his brother in a jail cell, and nobody's really commenting on it. It's you know, it's strange, and we also thought it was cool for characters' motivations and to be able to lie and manipulate and that nobody else is aware of those kind of private conversations. Like in Dario's office, there's always some kind of scheming that's going on and some kind of you know, other agenda at play. And we thought it would kind of be silly because then shouldn't everybody on the entire roster know everything that's happening if the announcers know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's fair enough. And I also like the fact that there's, I guess, non-cringeworthy product placement. Sometimes when I'm watching other promotions, they put something out there and it's like,
there's been some cringeworthy ones.
Come on, that Bagel Bites thing with Son of Havoc and Masquerita Sagrada. That 5 stars, 5 stars.
Yeah, we just went for it. We're like, let's just hit him over the head and go so cheesy with it that
it was great.
It's awesome.
But no, there's some good stuff like that.
And Hernandez had a Miller Lite in one of them. So yeah, it's fun.
And like the commercial element, what was it? Trying to get obliques like Johnny Mundo, sort of thing. like that's fun. Like that stuff's funny too.
Yeah.
But no, you've created like a certain supernatural world as well. But I mean, with the current socio-political landscape, are you ever tempted to kind of borrow from that and go outside of it? And the only reason I ask that is because I know you played a role in the whole Edge and Lita live sex celebration thing. So courting certain controversial things, I guess, in your wheelhouse maybe. Are you tempted to do anything like that at all? Like borrow from certain socio-political elements nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think, you know, in the end, it just comes down to kind of telling the best story and you know, coming up with kind of a, you know, the best way that we can tell the story possible. And whether that be something like that, sure. You know, Lucha Underground kind of takes place in its own world in a way. So, you know, we try to stay out of like current events and things like that. Plus it airs way later. So if you were to say something about something current, it wouldn't make sense when you see it 6 months later. So, you know, those kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, we're always looking to push the envelope. That's kind of what we were pressed to do from the very beginning is to think outside the box.
Okay, with your international talent then, is there ever the worry of there being some more, you know, travel bans being imposed and it being difficult to get your certain talent there? Do certain aspects like that concern you or consideration?
Well, yeah, now they do. They do, and you know, I think we'll be okay. I think you know, we've gone through the route of getting people the correct visas and things like that. I think we'll be okay.
Do you feel like now is a good time period though for kind of having like a huge Hispanic baby face though? Like, do you think now is a good time for that to be a big thing in North America? What with there being a contentious, you know, like all the wall-based rhetoric and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think there's always been a need for a Hispanic baby face. You know, I think there's always been a need for an African American baby face or you know, something like. I mean, that's the one thing I love about Lucha is like it's like a palette of all colors, you know, and and walks of life. It's kind of it's a Lucha Underground. I think in a way is like is like the representation of kind of, in a way, that, at least some aspects of the United States. It's like, it's a mixed color. It's a melting pot of everybody. I mean, look at our audience. Like, it's a really cool, chill place, and everybody's so cool, and everybody's part of it. And I mean, even the audience that's there, they're part of it, and in a way part of the show. And it's been really cool and really rewarding. But yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, and I mean, Pimpy's another character as well. I mean, you're courting certain, cross-dressing, transgender kind of elements. We're gonna see more characters like that going ahead then, or?
I think so. I think you'll see a lot. We have a lot of interesting stuff planned for the hopeful season 4. So we'll see. But definitely, character above, like I say, above anything is important. But like, the first time I ever saw Pimpy, I was like, oh, I have to have Pimpy. I have to have Pimpy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's fabulous, and,
it's the only word to describe it.
Yeah, and it's just so much fun to work with, and the people love Pimpy. They love Pimpy. So yeah, I can't wait to see Pimpy now. Now you got me excited.
And well, I mean, you guys are getting people excited. I mean, I don't usually see wrestling promotions where narrative elements unfurl in front of the audience and you get those holy shit or this is awesome. Like, you don't get that in other promotions with like the narrative aspects. I don't want to spoil anything within the Lucha Underground storyline, but there's been multiple moments where an element of the narrative will reveal itself and people just go crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've seen people just with their mouths wide open, like, what? Oh, doing the Home Alone face out there. It's that's so much fun, especially when it delivers. It's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the current landscape of wrestling is kind of interesting. I mean, certain promotions kind of going, I guess, the safer route, you could say, for lack of a better term. The hands over face, blocking the chair shots, gigging doesn't really happen all that often. And Lucha, clearly not tethered to that whole thing. Do you think that kind of gives you an opportunity to, express yourselves in a unique way, or how do you see yourselves in that role, kind of thing?
I mean, that really just comes down to a talent making a decision or doing something to benefit the storyline. I don't think we just seek out like, oh, we have to have gore and blood and ridiculous violence. I don't think we necessarily try to push for that. I think just sometimes the stories that we're telling eventually build to that. And I know for a fact that coming in this next second half of season 2, there is some true violence that's about to happen. That's about to go down in the temple, and yeah, it's some of it's even is just like, wow, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, and I didn't necessarily mean to make it say it was, violence for the sake of violence, but I mean, in certain promotions, they have these big programs, and then you expect there to be some, bloodbath blow-off, but it doesn't really happen, or like some wild sort of match. But Lucha Underground, like, for example, the Mariposa Sexy Star No Moss match, like, great, excellent. I mean, and it needed that. You don't usually see women, with the proverbial crimson mask, so I mean, that was kind of a neat wrinkle to it as well.
But that was the story that we were telling. I mean, here's somebody that was kidnapped and tortured. And,
finally gets a revenge.
If you're gonna fight, then you gotta fight, and that's what goes down. And I think those girls just took it to another level. It was just one of my favorite of all time.
No, it was absolutely fantastic, and I've been loving talking Lucha Underground with you. But any chance we get a tag team with Joey Ryan and Big Dick Johnson reprising the old role?
He does have my entrance music, by the way. I didn't. That happened totally by accident. One of our editors was like, "Oh, we were looking for Joey Ryan entrance music," and all of a sudden, I was watching a cut of the show, and Joey Ryan came out, and it's like I heard Big Dick Johnson's entrance music, and I was like, "Oh, these guys are totally fucking with me." I don't know if I can say that.
Go ahead, man. Feel free.
They're totally screwing with me here and messing with me, and then they're like, "Oh, we had no idea that was it." And I was like, "Oh, now you have to keep it." So Joey Ryan has that. I am going to do my damn best to not be on camera ever.
Come on, not even a vignette. Come on, man. The people want it.
I prefer not to, but you never know. There's lots of producers who have made cameos some way or somehow within the show. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure that they'll find some way to get me, but I usually try my best to not let it happen.
Fair enough. No, anything else you want to add though as we're wrapping up here?
No, I mean, no. I thank you for the time and talking lucha. I love to talk about it, and I just urge everybody, tell if you already know Lucha Underground, and you want Lucha Underground to continue to be successful and grow, like tell all your friends, tell everybody, check it out on Netflix or on May 31st, watch it on El Rey Network, the second half of season 3, and support this show, because you love wrestling and because there's a lot of people that are working really hard, and I think we're trying to give the best possible show for everybody. So, and give a different an alternative for people. So, please tell everybody, tell your friend, tell your grandma, tell anybody to check it out.
Lucha Underground coming to Netflix very, very soon. Just talked to the co-executive producer, member of WWE creative team for a while. Thanks for the time, Chris DJ DeJoseph, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for your time, man.
Thank you. That was a good time. Hopefully I get to talk to you again.
Yeah, for sure. I'd look forward to that, man. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye.